Hey everybody, how you doing again? It's Carpo. I just can't seem to get to convey enough points. I keep making videos today, so I guess it's something I can do to fill time while I'm working. But anyway, I wanted to talk a little bit about, well, I guess the only way to put it would be, why do we take advice from certain people, and why don't we take it from others? You know, I've thought about this a lot, and a while back I did a video about ethos, which, you know, has to do with the credibility of a person who's giving you information. So, when we want to know something, we go to our elders, whatever that may be. In some cultures they go to their elders. For us, the elders means we go to our wise men, which are often, for a lot of people, it's pastors, priests, whatever affiliation they may have with the church. For non-religious people, they may go to, science or scientists for credible ideas or whatnot. But ultimately, each one of us faces the same issue, which is, who do I trust and who do I listen to? And I've noticed a pattern which I don't, I'm not trying to, there's a support center for some people who, if people really believe what they're saying and they really stand behind it, then other people will follow that and will flock to that because of the intensity with which the person holds their views. And this is often because the person who's observing sees that this person appears to really know what he's talking about and have it figured out. But let's talk about personal life here. Like, if we need personal advice on how to, fix a particular situation in our life. Because I was saying last night, I made a video where I mentioned, in psychology, a psychologist is only going to attack the problem as he would deal with the problem, rather than using the individual and saying, well, how does this fit into your life? Like, for example, certain value systems, say a particular religion, and one person on the other side of the world is saying, you should take on this religion because it'll make you, happy or complete. And the other person says, well, that doesn't fit my lifestyle, that doesn't fit the life that I live and the place that I live. And this has been one of the most difficult things for us to overcome, is the obstacle of thinking that just because we have something to make us happy, that others are going to be happy doing that same thing. It's a misnomer, big time. I mean, this is like one of the biggest misconceptions that we have. And since as individuals all we know is what we know, then we're not likely to tell people, well, this is what works for me, but other people have said this works, because all we know is what we know as individuals. So, to get to my point, it would be that in my life I have really tried to listen to my elders, all of them. It doesn't mean that the old are wiser, because wisdom has nothing to do with age. Wisdom is a matter of experience. But regardless of how unwise a person may be, or even if a person is old and they've never really done much with their integrity, they've never done much to build themselves, they've still led a life of experiences which would give them some credibility in giving advice. So I listened to, I listened to about every Manly P. Hall lecture and over the years, and I've noticed that as he gets older, he begins to, you can sense a change in his demeanor. When he's younger, he tends to be almost more preachy, and he does kind of remain that way, but I think you can tell that the excitement has turned to, exhaustion from all the, trying to explain for so many years to people what's really important. Guys like that, people who show that they understand, are the ones that I listen to. So it's very difficult for me when a 20-year-old kid tries to tell me, hey, if you do this, you're going to be, better off. It's not that I'm dismissing them person outright just because of their age. It's because no amount of experience up to that point could prepare a person for what happens, say, in their 30s, or the emotional and mental changes a person goes through when they get older. Likewise, I don't have any right to sit here and say that I know better, because when I'm 50, I'll be looking back on myself today and saying, God, I didn't know so much as I thought I did. And this is why I've actually remained pretty neutral on so many points. It's not because I'm afraid to attach to an idea, it's just because I know that ideas change. And attachment leads to disappointment. Attachment to anything leads to disappointment in the end. I think that the only thing that we can attach to that is secure and safe and within the natural realm of things is being attached to peace, being attached to love, but not to the point where we're addicted and that's all there is. But on taking people's advice, and you talk to the older generation, and they always say, my whole view of life is one of wonder. I enjoy it. I love every moment of it. I wake up and I'm excited for the day. Even though I'm flat broke, I have no job, I'm trying to figure out how I'm going to do this and do that. It just doesn't faze me. My stress level's gone. And it's because I've found what works for me. And I'm still working on it. But listening to the people who have given me advice, not directly, but by listening to them, you hear about a guy on his deathbed who says, I wish I would have loved more. I wish I would have cared more. I wish I would have been more active. You hear people who, when they see you with your children, they'll say, spend as much time as you can with them because it goes by so fast. And sometimes that's like a reflection of a person's guilt from their own parenting, like they feel like they didn't spend enough time. Not meaning they didn't, but that we as parents all want to spend as much time as we can with our children, but it goes by so fast. So taking advice from a parent is much more viable than, say, taking advice from a non-parent. I hear a lot of people who don't have kids talking about how to raise kids, and it's just laughable because you just don't get it. And I don't care how many children you've been around or babysat, or how many children your family members have. If you don't have kids, you just don't get it. And I knew that when I didn't have kids, and now I get it. I think that, in other words, that's my way of saying that people tend to think that just because they have an experience in a certain realm of life, even if it's not direct experience, that they can teach others vicariously through experiences that they haven't even had themselves. It's like when I went to drug treatment when I got in trouble for weed when I was younger, and both of the people that ran the program was a husband and wife, and neither one of them had ever done drugs. So, is their opinion legitimate to me? No. None of the people in the class could take them seriously because they hadn't been there. So, taking advice from our elders, we only do this because they've been there. And they know what's important. So what's really important when you're dying, when you're on your deathbed, what are you going to look back on and think, what did I fuck up on? It's going to be love, tolerance, acceptance, but most of all, individual happiness, which no amount of telling others how it should be or having an idealist attitude about life, it's not going to change the world. But it can change your point of view. Somebody made a comment this morning, sent me a message, saying that they disagreed with a particular point I made, and I was thinking about this. It was that we set ourselves up to be negative, that we program ourselves to be negative. And they were saying how sometimes the experience is, of a person's life, I guess basically this is what I got out of it, was that, sometimes it's not a self-inflicted thing. that it's actually an environmental condition. And I agree with that completely, in the sense that there is a major environmental influence on how we perceive the world. But at the same time, it's up to us. It's our choice to how we view that. And once we've developed the capacity to know better, in other words, once we're old enough to know that if we feel negative, it's going to make us, if we think negative, it's going to make us feel bad. And if we think positive, it's going to make us feel good. Once we've gotten to that point where we understand that, there's really no excuse for us to be negative, except for, I see it as a defensive mechanism to say, oh well, say you're going on a trip and say, oh God, something bad's bound to happen, It's a security measure to say, oh, I knew it when something bad finally does happen, So I think sometimes we set ourselves up and we expect things to be a certain way, and we're disappointed when they fall through. So I can see it from that point, and I don't make plans. I'm not a plan maker kind of guy, and I think that's due to the not wanting to lose that excitement. So like when I go on vacation, I never make an itinerary or anything. I just go. If I start making plans and organizing things, then everything falls apart. Maybe I change my mind or lose interest. That's exactly how it is with just life in general. I might lose my interest with a particular career choice or something, and be like, damn it, I want to do something different. And maybe that's my flaw. Maybe that's one of my faults, that cause sometimes we need to just stick with something and do it. But I'm trying to take the advice of people around me, which say that, be careful, don't attach, let yourself be open. So who do we listen to, I guess, besides the elders, And that's what I'm kind of trying to get at, is who in our society really, really has something important to say that nobody else knows, or that people can't find out for themselves. I think that, to a degree, we all want to be told. We all want to be given advice by those we respect. There's a fine line between advice and preaching. And that's kind of where the line gets drawn, when people start getting preachy. I read a long time ago this book about how to word yourself and how to come across as saying, well, if I were in your situation, I'd do this, rather than saying, you should do this. There's certain key words that you don't use when you're talking to someone. You should, or you don't. There's all these different little subconscious cues that we don't realize, but it upsets us when we hear them. So when people are pointing the finger at us, we know it. And so the ones that have the strongest ethos, the ones that I respect, are the ones that are quietly content. The ones who don't sit and fight and argue. It's not about, a healthy debate is fine. There's nothing wrong with that. And if you want to voice your, self in a discussion, that's fine. But when a person stands up too strongly and defends their points over and over, they lose credibility in my eyes, because it seems like they're, if that's really a good content state of mind that you have, then just live it. You don't have to prove it. So by proving things, I feel like we're just trying to prove them to ourselves. So when people are very preachy and finger pointing, I tend to just ignore them. And when people say, this is what's worked for me, and I observe that their life appears to be healthy, happy, that they enjoy themselves, they do fun things, those are the people I listen to. So it doesn't matter how much a person tells me that this God or that God is important, because when I look around at the people who have these beliefs, I see that a major portion of them are hateful and spiteful towards other belief systems. That's why I don't take a religion. Not because everyone in that religion is a certain way, but because enough of them are to show me that it's not the one true path, if that makes sense. Because if it were, then a person would be content to be happy. In other words, Christians would be happy to just do their thing. And the rest of the world goes on. But, there's all these deeper things in there, like such as tribulations and revelations, and they claim they're trying to help people. But it's not just religion, it's everything. It's politics. It's love. People want to tell you how to love, and, who you should love, and what to do in your relationships. And you see these people telling you what you should do to make a better relationship, and meanwhile they're divorced, and they've never made it work for themselves. So if someone's giving us advice, and we can see that they're not living it, ew, yuck. I think I just found a caterpillar. If we can see that someone's not living what they're telling you, then what good is their opinion at all? It's like a person telling you should eat more healthy while they're eating junk food, And along those lines, that's another thing we do to ourselves. We do many things to ourselves we know we shouldn't do. We do things that are damaging to our body. We know we shouldn't smoke. We know we shouldn't drink. We know we shouldn't do this. We know we shouldn't do that, but we do it. Why? Because we're discontented with the world around us. Because it's scary. To some people anyway. I guess that's one of the things I took away from life so far, is that I fear nothing. Because I know that the ultimate fear is the fear of death. And once you've conquered that fear, not that we'll ever conquer it completely, but once you've realized that, there's more to life than just living and dying, I guess that's an individual thing. I can't. There's lots of people out there who are very materialistic and think this is all we got, and they take advice from people who believe that, the same thing, that we're all just here. But I'll tell you, even if we're all just here and it's all by chance, there's still a natural law to follow. Because we know what we do when we break the rules. We know what happens. Because every time, it's the same result. You break the rules, you get punished. Whether we punish ourselves or punished by others. So, we can tell each other what's important, but I think in our hearts we all know. We just know. Certain things that you cannot dispute, and one of those is doing wrong to others will always bring you grief to yourself. Telling others that they're mistaken will only leave the burden of proof on you to show, and ultimately we're all with ourselves. But it's great to have loved ones and family, and I'm very grateful to have that, because it's one of the keys to life. Find somebody to love. Namaste.